Welcome to Roughing It with Ruth. I'm on a mission to find cheap backpacking gear so that backpacking can be more accessible for everyone. Please keep in mind that my goal with these videos is not to make you go out and buy a bunch of gear. The cheapest way to do backpacking is to rather borrow or rent some gear. Remember that if someone is nice enough to lend you their backpacking gear, you really need to look after it and find out exactly how to do that before you take it on your backpacking trip. The next item that I bought for my budget backpacking gear project is a stove to boil some water. So what I bought was the Coghlins emergency stove. This is a solid fuel stove. It includes the solid fuel tablets. It has 24 solid fuel tablets included with the stove. And this package on its own with the stove and fuel cost me 75 South African Rand. And somewhere on the screen I will put what that currently is in US dollars. I actually bought some additional fuel tablets as well. And these additional fuel tablets, they are also 24, so the same amount that you get with the stove. And they cost 38 Rand for 24 tablets. One tablet burns for 9 minutes. Use multiple tablets to increase heat or offset windy conditions. It states on the packaging that the size when folded down is 11.5 centimeters by 9.5 centimeters by 2.5 centimeters. So this is what it looks like. And then it folds open, and inside here you have your fuel tablets. The stove itself is extraordinarily lightweight. This mug, it is a 500 milliliter capacity. As you can see, the mug is not large enough to stand on the stove like this, but it does say that the stove can function in 2 different opening positions, like this as well. Let's see what happens. Oh, is there going to be water everywhere? It can work with this mug. The mug doesn't have a lid, which I think is slightly unfair for boiling times, so I'm just going to put a saucer on the top of it. Oh, this seems so precarious. This seems so precarious. Okay, so I'm going to set this up and see how long it takes to boil just under 500 milliliters of water. I must admit that I have actually seen someone using this exact stove on a Drakensberg hike, and it was okay. It took them a very long time, much longer than any of the rest of us with canister stoves. The stove that I normally use backpacking is not budget at all. It was a gift that is extremely effective at boiling water, and that is the MSR reactor. It boils water faster than my kettle boils water at home. I'm definitely going to have to lower my expectations with this particular setup. Ooh, how should I do this? How should I do this? Should I start with 1 tablet and see if it burns for 9 minutes? Okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to start with 1 tablet only, see how hot that makes the water. Admittedly, I don't always boil the water when I cook. You just need water that's hot. The instructions do also say that you should wash your hands after handling the fuel tablets. So I think they're pretty... Oh! Anyway, you're supposed to wash your hands after handling these. Oops. This is starting so well. Alrighty. Now. Oh, so, the flames are like licking around the sides of this quite a lot. I think this would definitely be much more effective with a wider pot. Oh, I forgot to put the saucer on. I'm sorry. Oh, my word. Anyway, it's only been 1 minute and 40 seconds. Maybe I'm going to have to bring a book to read on this hike as well while I wait for my water to boil. I must admit that Coghlans has been one of the go-to brands for my budget backpacking project, just because they produce quite a lot of very cheap items. The big letdown for me was the Coughlin's emergency tent, and I'll put a link to that somewhere. But other items of theirs that I've bought actually seem to be quite good. In fact, let me just get the stuff out and show you while we're waiting for this water to boil, which might take the next 100 years. So this is one of the other items that I bought from Coghlans. And I bought this because I'm not sure yet what my sleeping bag situation is going to be. It is basically a space blanket, but it is already in the shape of a bag. And if my sleep system fails, I need to have some backup stuff. Then this thing I think is so cool. I actually really like this thing, also from Coghlans. This is the Coghlans 4-function whistle. So it has a thermometer, it has a magnifying glass, so you can use this to start fires. And it has a compass on the top. And then the fourth function, of course, is a whistle. Oh, it's almost dead. Well, it's pretty accurate. They said 9 minutes, and we are at 8 minutes and 56. Okay, it's essentially out. It's essentially out now. That is 9 minutes and 7 seconds. Let's take this off. Well, the sauce is warm. Ooh, look at the steam. Look at that. I wonder if I can just test this with my finger and see how hot it is. Does this seem like a bad idea? It seems like a bad idea. And yet, I do it anyway. Okay, well, according to the whistle, it's about 40 degrees, the water. Okay, Google, what is the temperature of boiling water?
Water has a boiling point of 100 degrees Celsius.
Okay, so this is definitely not boiling, but I mean, it's hot. It's got steam coming off of it. I can stand to keep my finger in there, but it is kind of painful. It is actually kind of painful. I would definitely, this level of heat, I would make tea with this, hot chocolate, coffee. I would even use this to rehydrate my meals, knowing that I would just have to leave them to sit for slightly longer than if it was actually boiling. As you can see, dun dun dun. Can you see that? I hope you can see that. That is like the hockey puck piece of charcoal that remains of that little tablet. All right, so I actually, surprisingly, I'm not going to need to use another tablet because this water is definitely hot enough for me to rehydrate food with, make tea, make coffee, and that's all I do. I do not cook on my stove ever when I'm backpacking. All I want to do is get hot water to rehydrate things. And this seems like it would do it. I think in wind, you would have a problem. You might need to use 2 or 3 of the fuel tablets. And I do think that you definitely would need some sort of a windshield. Find a sheltered area to do your cooking. The other thing that you should remember is now you are left with this little hockey puck that you have to do something with. So you have to scrape it into your trash bag. It makes a lot more smoke than a canister stove or an alcohol stove even. So you end up getting like soot marks on the bottom of your pot. That's not such a big issue for me. You might want to just clean it off before you put it back in your backpack because otherwise you're going to get that mark on everything that you own. I think I'm probably going to spend slightly more money to get a slightly better pot that is a bit wider because that is going to definitely make the efficiency of the stove work better. So Coghlans has redeemed themselves a little bit after the disastrous tube tent emergency thing, which I don't recommend at all. This little whistle / magnifying glass / compass / thermometer is fantastic. This little stove is fantastic. This emergency bag, I think, is actually very useful. All of these items are actually a very similar price. The stove is 75 South African Rand. The whistle is 75 South African Rand. And the emergency space blanket is 65 South African Rand. That is all from me for today. If you liked watching this video and you'd like to follow along on my budget backpacking adventures, then please consider subscribing to my channel.